This is firing range, and this tiny section of the map right here might be the reason why you keep getting spawn trapped in ranked. But fear not, because I have developed a simple 3-step anchor system that will help you predict spawn. So how does the game pick where to spawn the enemy after he gets killed? Think of it like this. For a split second, the game actually doesn't want you to die. So when an enemy dies, the game will look for the safest position that is the farthest from your teammates and you. Okay, now that we know how spawns work, let's get into step 1 of mastering spawns in firing range. And the first thing you're going to need to learn will be zoning. See, Call of Duty Mobile has thousands of spawn positions on every single map, but none of that actually matters because of what I'm about to teach you. And for this, all you need to know are the 2 main spawns. Yeah, that is spawn A and spawn B. If you know the 2 main spawns, you already know 2 of the zones, and the 3rd zone is no man's land. So with these 3 zones, we already know all the possible places the game can choose to spawn the enemy. But there's a small twist. We already know the rules the game follows in order to spawn the enemy in a certain position. So how can we use that to our advantage? And that brings us to the second stage, which is anchoring. If you're new to the channel or you just don't know what anchoring is, I made a video that explains in detail about anchoring and a few other roles you can play in Call of Duty Mobile. I'll link it somewhere on the screen right now. Anyways, in order for you to properly maintain a team spawn trap, you also have to control where your teammates are. But enough with the chattering, let's actually get into the spawn trapping. Remember the 3 zones I told you about? Here's what you're going to do. If you're playing solo with randoms, you're going to have to check which of the 3 zones are your teammates in, because we are going to need to control 2 of those zones. And this is how you're going to do that. Make sure you have at least 2 teammates in the 2 zone. Once your teams are in the zones, the next thing you're going to have to do to activate the spawn trap. Now, to activate the spawn trap, your team has to kill at least 2 of the enemies. Okay, now once that is done, the teammates at the no man's land zone are going to have to move to power positions. What do I mean by power positions? Places with head glitches, cover positions, and choke funnels. Now I get it, Call of Duty Mobile sometimes gives us the worst of teammates, so if you need teammates to play with, we are currently at 20 people on my Discord, so you can hit any of those guys up. They are good players, trust me. But if that sounds like a lot of work for you, I have good news. You are going to have to be the slayer of that team. So here's what you're going to do. At no man's land, you're going to have to kill everything that moves and has a red dot on its shoulder. This should be fairly easy at this point because you know where they're coming from, you know the routes they're going to take. But if you don't know the routes they're going to take, these are the routes people usually take. And these are the power positions for each of those routes. Now, starting a team spawn trap is the easy part. The hard part is actually maintaining the spawn trap. And here's the thing, once you start the spawn trap and you start getting in that rush of kills, we most times forget this part. Yeah, but you are not supposed to over push. In other words, do not cross to their zone. But that is only half of it. And for you to properly control a spawn trap, there is one extra thing you have to do, and that brings us to the 3rd step, controlling team placement. Now, if you're unlucky enough and you got teamed up with bots, they are not going to know what it is you're trying to do. So how do we make sure they do not fudge up our spawn trap? See, the thing is, some of our teammates might end up actually dying, but remember, we know how spawns work. So as long as you have at least 2 teammates in each of the zones, don't worry about it, the spawn trap is still on. But now let's flip the thing on its head. Now it's you who has been spawn trapped. How do you go about it? Now that's another story on its own, and that's why it deserves its own video. So in my next video, I'm going to be talking about that and a little bit more. I'll be talking about the power positions I mentioned, the choke points, the head glitches, and all that and more. So if you don't want to miss out on that, be sure to hit the subscribe button, join the Discord if you want to train with real players and master spawns.